All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I want to show you all a quick way, or I don't know about quick, but a logical way that me, the stock market jobber, looks for trading ideas. Now, one of the things I think you need to do if you're going to be a successful trader. Now, let me qualify that because when I say trader, there's so many different types of traders. There's buy side traders, there's market makers, blah blah blah, sales traders. But I think if you're listening to me right now, you're probably like, okay, I got some capital, I got some money, I want to make it bigger. So you would fall into the definition of what we would call a proprietary trader, meaning you take your money and you try to trade it and profit from it. So if I look at the different sectors, well, let me start again. One of the things that I like to do is go through all the various sectors. Now, if you're a spy trader or an S&P 500 person, or anyone who does any kind of a strategy, you can look at the S&P 500 and you look at these sectors. Okay, tech, financials, healthcare, energy, different sectors are running the market at different times. Different sectors are what I would call in the leadership of the market, or not in control, but certain times you get different signals from different sectors. So going through these today, I looked at our consumer staple sector, which is the stocks of companies that people think they products they need, as opposed to luxury products, right? This is like, if the world's coming to an end, what am I going to buy? Blah, blah, blah. You'll find that's kind of ridiculous because Coke and Pepsi are in this sector. And I think if the world was coming to an end, I really don't think people would be thinking about, oh, let me go get my Coke and Pepsi. That's where like the sector that sells water or weapons would actually perform if we even had a market. All right, all right, all right. I know I'm getting carried away with my conspiracy stuff. But anyway, all kidding aside, a lot of times when a market gets to a level that was a peak before, it is a peak again. It finds resistance. Now look at this consumer staple sticker. We're looking at the ETF XLP that tracks this particular sector. So we get to this resistance. It was resistance back in August and July, and we start to go lower. There are people who bought here who have been underwater ever since, and they're like, if this thing ever gets back to my price, I'm out. So when it finally gets back to their price, there's people who are selling. Remorseful buyers can create resistance with their sell orders. Now, the next thing that happens a lot, not always, but a lot, is that when something gets to resistance, it could reverse and sell off. Why does that happen? Well, let's think about this. Resistance is this large group of sellers. That's the definition of resistance. Some of these sellers might start to get anxious and impatient and think like, oh man, there's other sellers coming into the market here. That's why the price isn't going any higher. So I need to sell. So a lot of times you get this snowball effect. Sellers are cutting each other. All right, so consumer staples sector. All right, now we can look for trading ideas in this sector. This sector looks like it might reverse. We're not talking about anything, brain surgery here, rocket science, or brain science or rocket surgery. Hope I didn't bane my damage. Brain my damage. You know what I'm trying to say. It's an old Simpson quote. Um, but anyway, there's a good chance it starts to go lower. So now it's like, all right, well, let's look for some trading ideas within this sector. You can go to the fact sheet, just like we did for SPY, and you can see what companies are in this sector. Procter and Gamble, Costco, Walmart. So let's just kind of take a look through some of these and see if we can find something to just kind of throw on the radar screen, something that looks like it may make a tradable move. All right, Target, refill the gap here. I'd get interested in this if it breaks this support down here. So, not yet. Not yet. But this thing gets to like 154. Then you pay attention. Colgate. When I first got out of college, I used to take the bar car home on Metro North. And I was like 24, 25, I guess. And I kind of made friends with this guy who was always on the bar car in the same position. They don't do that anymore, unfortunately. So I started talking to the guy. I was a young guy. He was an older guy, maybe his 60s or whatever. And we kind of became friends. And so finally, I'm like, we start talking and he's like, "What do you do for a living?" I tell him, I'm like, "What do you do for a living?" He's like, "Oh, I work for Colgate Palmolive." And I was like, "Oh, what do you do?" He's like, "I'm the CEO." So I was like, wow, sure enough, I got home and I looked in the annual report and the guy was the CEO, and he was nice enough to like hang out with me. But all right, anyway, that's neither here nor there. But anyway, all right, Colgate looks a little bit vulnerable, right? If it breaks this uptrend line, could start to head lower. This is on the radar screen here. Very overbought, overstretched. Overbought conditions bring sellers into the market because they're looking for a reversal. Altria, you know what? I don't deal with tobacco stocks because I just think they're unethical. All right, let's see Mondelez here. I forget the symbol. All right, let me do this one more time. Memo ND. Trust me, I'm a better trader than I am speller. MOND. Mondelez. MDLZ. There, all right, starting to trend lower. Might be something there. Real interesting though. Check this out. This is what we always talk about in my class. Levels, levels, levels. Know where the important price levels are. Why did we hit resistance here? It wasn't a coincidence. It's because it was resistance here. There are people that bought at this peak, and all of a sudden the price falls out of bed. And they're like, oh man, I made a big friggin' mistake. If I can get out of this at break even, I'm going to. So it finally gets back up to its price. Remorseful buyers placing sell orders forms resistance. Sellers start to undercut each other. You sell off of resistance. All right, Philip Morris. Let's look at Pepsi and Coke, which I find very interesting. Why are they even in this sector? Because if the world's coming into an end, I don't think you're going to be like, oh, I need Coke and Pepsi. But real interesting here. This I would put on the trading radar for a potential move lower if this support breaks. Here we have the example of what was support becomes resistance. What was resistance becomes support. So support's this big group of buyers. And if we break the support, meaning if we get below it, that's trader terminology. It's not just symbolic. It tells us that the investors and traders who created this support with their buy orders are out of the market. You had this big move really quick here. Okay. A lot of times when you have fast moves or gaps and the price keeps moving and then reverses and gets back to those same price levels, you kind of rip through them really fast, because one of the main reasons why we have support like here is because we have remorseful sellers placing buy orders. People sell and the price goes higher and they're like, oh my gosh, if I could buy my shares back at the same price I sold them, man, I will. When you rip through levels really fast like this, there's not a lot of time for there to be a lot of interest. So there might be this like kind of dearth or a lack of buy orders, and we could sell off pretty quickly here. You could even see it here. I call this fast move down, fast move up. Quite simple. Why would we get a fast move down and then a fast move up? One of the main reasons why we get resistance is we have remorseful buyers placing sell orders. You get the fast move up. It just moves so quickly through those levels. It's just not a lot of time for there to be this big vested interest. All right, lesson. If something gaps their price levels or moves quickly through them, continues to trend whichever way it is going, eventually reverses and get back to those same price levels, there's a good chance it makes a rapid move back through them. All right, let's look at Coke. Did you know that Coca-Cola, KO, the symbol is from back when Coke first went public, I think like in the 20s. Coca-Cola was, our boxing was the biggest sport. So KO meant knockout. That's where the symbol comes from. But I don't see much here for trading ideas. But here's an example where support becomes resistance. All right. All right, let's just look at a couple more of these. Walmart, Costco, Procter & Gamble. The action in Walmart is kind of interesting. Now, it's too soon to act, but kind of forming this what we call a descending triangle pattern. And these guys tend to be pretty reliable. Of course, they're not perfect, but let's just think about this. What does this pattern show us? Charts need to be looked at through the prism of supply and demand. All right. This shows us that the buyers are willing to hang out down here. The sellers are getting more aggressive. That's why the support level stays there, but the resistance level kind of goes slower. As time goes by here, the sellers are willing to sell at lower prices. So complacent buyers, aggressive sellers, the support breaks could set the stage for a move lower. Then we just got to look at Costco and Procter & Gamble. All right, a little bit overbought here, stretched out. If this reverses back below this 744 level, that's where I would think about getting in. And Procter & Gamble, same thing. If we reversed and got back below this, that's when I would get involved. But these aren't necessarily, well, at least these bigger companies, I don't see much trading ideas. But I talked about some ideas that I did see. So remember, if you're looking for trading ideas, if you see a sector that looks like it's going to move or reverse or what have you, look for stocks within the sector. Now, we just looked at the top 10, with the exception of Philip Morris. This sector has a lot more stocks in it. So you can go through the sector and look for various ideas. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope this helps, and I will talk to you soon.